While everyone is buzzing about the SpaceX IPO, the 1.5 trillion IPO, there is a boardroom maneuver that is actually in the offing. Elon Musk, the backer of SpaceX, and now the company that owns both SpaceX and XAI, is actually planning how to take full control of this company before it goes on IPO. On this episode, we'll be talking about the planned dual class listing IPO or stock structure of SpaceX and how Elon Musk wants to actually control this giant end to end, whether being a private company and eventually when it becomes a public company. There's a Bloomberg report that has just come out that SpaceX is considering a dual class share structure. So on paper, it sounds like, some kind of jargon, but in reality, it could actually give Elon Musk that absolute power, unbreakable control over SpaceX. Even if he wants to shut down the company, he can. Even if he wants to pivot the company to do anything, he will be able to do that if he eventually actually get this power and have that dual shares listing. So on this episode, I'll be looking at that in detail. What does this actually mean for SpaceX IPO? Will this give bigger investors cold feet? And would this also make them consider whether they want to invest in this IPO or not, or whether they will actually want to be on the sidelines to see what's going to happen, or they will actually reduce their exposure? If you haven't watched our video before, this is Stalker Team, the investors channel. We love everyone. Please subscribe to our channel, put on your notification bell so that you don't miss any update. And of course, on this channel, we don't give financial advice. So every information shared is for information and education purpose only. Do your due diligence or consult a financial advisor for making any decision. Let's jump right into this topic. Now, most companies often operate on a very simple rule: one share, one vote. So if you own 10% of the company, you actually have 10% of the say. That is actually how it works on a very conventional, traditional way of listing any company. But a dual class structure actually breaks that rule. So it creates this kind of what we call super voting shares. So usually the founders will actually be the one asking for this. That might actually carry. So for instance, if you have 10 shares, you have 10% of actually the say in the company. But this will give you 100 times the voting power of the shares sold to the public. So there are pros and cons to this. Number one, let's look at the pro. For instance, it allows any founder with a vision to actually pursue their vision to the limit of their imagination. So if a founder is very, very convinced and they believe that this company should go this route, they want to actually take this company to do this, to invest in something else, to actually invent something else, or to even break the company into pieces or buy other companies through acquisition or mergers, they will be able to do that without actually even seeking anyone's permission. And they wouldn't actually also be bullied by Wall Street analysts who are always thinking about the next quarter. And sometimes that could actually be very frustrating for visionary founders. But there is a con to this, because the devil, they say, is always in the detail. So look at it this way. It actually eliminates accountability. Accountability is very, very important when a company is public. Even when a public is private, accountability is very, very important. But for a public company, accountability can never be overemphasized. The importance of accountability can never be overemphasized. So if the founder, for instance, makes a catastrophic mistake, the board, the shareholders will be powerless. They wouldn't be able to do anything, and the company might actually perhaps go into bankruptcy. The company could actually have serious legal implication, legal liabilities. The company might not also be able to continue as a going concern, and their investment goes to waste. I'm not going to stress this, but let's also look at what exactly Elon Musk is trying to even do in the first place. But before you actually give Elon Musk the benefit of the doubt, is it also possible for us to actually look at who are the visionary founders who have done this dual class listing and how has it fared? So Musk is not necessarily reinventing the wheel here. He's not doing something that hasn't been done. It's what some people actually even call Silicon Valley royalty playbook. So for instance, look at Mark Zuckerberg. He owns roughly about 13% of Meta's equity or the total shares in Meta. But his super voting shares gives him much more control. So he has over 60% voting power, which means he can do anything he likes with Meta. Now, let's look at what exactly he did that actually raised a whole lot of question marks. So when the world actually begged him, it was, the metaverse thing was a total failure. When the world begged him to perhaps maybe dial it back or slow down on spending on metaverse, he didn't necessarily listen. And at the end of the day, he had his way. $10 billion, was spent on metaverse, and we couldn't actually say metaverse is a success. It's not even just not a success. Perhaps you can say it's a failure because now Meta has now pivoted into AI. Meta now has Llama AI. Meta is now also trying to build super data centers, and the metaverse is no longer talked about, and $10 billion is gone. A whole lot of layoffs has been done at Meta. The reality labs, so many of these things actually culminated in the metaverse not necessarily being a super smart idea that could have changed the company. That's one example. Now let's look at maybe a positive example of super voting or dual class listing that gives founders that superpower to actually decide what they want to do with their company. So Alphabet, formerly called Google, the two founders or two co-founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they used this exact model in 2004 when they had their IPO. So this basically allowed them to invest billions into moonshots. They were investing in so many businesses like the self-driving cars, which you now have Waymo. Waymo is perhaps one of the success story of shareholders of founders rather having that super voting shares. And they also invested in life extension technology, that traditional investors would not necessarily want to even perhaps approve in the first place. But let's look at it in a bit more detail. Waymo is a success today. Waymo is far ahead of Tesla's Cybercar, Tesla's self-driving technology, autonomous driving. Waymo has completed millions and millions of rides. Uber couldn't even beat Waymo. Uber is now a partner with Waymo. Waymo might even one day be spun off as a different entity of itself, and it could be listed, and the company could be worth billions, if not tens of billions of dollars. So that's a success story. But even at that, they also failed in some other ventures. You see the Google smart homes and so many other ventures didn't actually became successful, but they also had success stories here and there. So for Google, it worked to an extent. For Meta, the jury is still out. For SpaceX, the stakes are very, very, very high, and it is very, very interesting to see. Now, if you have watched this video to this point, please subscribe to our channel. We really, really love everyone. At least 60% of the people who watch our channel do not necessarily subscribe. We want to get that number to at least 60% of the people who watch our channel should actually be subscribers. So give us that subscriber button, and also put on a notification bell so that you don't miss any update. If you have watched this video up to this point, this episode is proudly presented by StockerTeam.com, the platform for retail investors to get coaching guidance on how to build a long-term and sustainable portfolio. Go to StockerTeam.com today and become a member for just $10 per quarter. $10 per quarter. Now let's go on. So the Elon factor and the $1 trillion payout. So Elon has had his track record on how he actually asks for this kind of things. He doesn't have super voting shares in Tesla, and we saw what he did to actually get something close to that. Now it is SpaceX. So here is where it gets critical. Can Elon Musk actually be trusted with this much unchecked power? So if you look at his history with Tesla, he demanded 25% voting shares stake in Tesla, which is basically threatening the company that it's going to take his AI, his robotics, all the fantastic ideas that he has. It will take it elsewhere if it doesn't get that mind-boggling $1 trillion incentive pay package. It was finally approved in late 2025 last year, which, there was a whole lot of legal battles in Delaware courts, and a whole lot of critics actually are now actually asking that question, that perhaps a whole lot of caution should actually be exercised here. So Elon Musk is actually bundling XAI, which burns a whole lot of cash, into SpaceX just months before this IPO. Perhaps they believe maybe is he stuffing the turkey, and the turkey is actually very lean and even smaller than it appears. Perhaps is he actually inflating the valuation, while still ensuring that he has that dual class structure, which keeps him as the captain in the cockpit. So at the end of the day, is Elon Musk actually perhaps asking for too much? If you are bringing a cash burning business into SpaceX, you still want to be in total control. Perhaps, that rings a whole lot of maybe red flags or alarm bells. So, for instance, if SpaceX is valued at 1.5 trillion and Elon Musk still has that super voting right, he is not just a CEO per se. Perhaps some might actually see him as a sovereign ruler, or even of a spacefaring entity. So at the end of the day, this is more or less, is this a monarchy? Is this still a business that could actually be seen as a public company? So there are red flags, and there are also some positive to this. For instance, the positive is people also believe there is this Elon Musk premium. So, for instance, investors are not necessarily buying SpaceX because they think SpaceX is a fantastic company. There is this argument that investors buy SpaceX because they believe in Elon Musk. So, without him, you won't actually see the lofty 1.5 trillion valuation that SpaceX is trying to list at. But on the flip side, some other people or analysts or even critics believe there is an Elon tax. So taxed. So if Elon has that premium, there's also a tax that he actually perhaps is imposing on people who, or anyone who actually invests alongside him in his company. So the history of his erratic management, from the chaotic takeover of X, formerly called Twitter, the 18 billion debt load, which is now on the neck of the AI venture that he has merged with, SpaceX, is going to actually give a whole lot of, institutional investors and even retail investors a whole lot of nightmare, because this debt has to be paid. It's going to weigh down the company. The stock price could actually crash massively when so much more information will be disclosed after the IPO. So if the SEC, major pension funds, if they push back against its power grab, this could delay the IPO. The IPO could even face lower valuation, because now we have an absolute control or controller of this business. So after all, if you're buying into a $1.5 trillion company, you should actually have a seat at the table, because at the end of the day, this is not a family affair. This is actually business. So to bring this to a close, Elon Musk actually even once said he wanted to die on Mars, just not on impact. So with this dual class IPO that he wants to actually get, maybe he's ensuring that no one can take over the steering wheel away from him during this journey. That's on a lighter note. But for investors, the question are still very, very, very strong. So are you buying a ticket to the future, or are you just buying to fund one man's absolute monarchy? So what do you think? Would you buy SpaceX shares? Does this actually mean anything to you? Do you even care at all? Because, look at Tesla. He has made Tesla to be very, very valuable. Tesla has been very, very successful, despite a whole lot of hiccups here and there. So at the end of the day, what do you think? Put the comment in the comment section below. You've been watching Stalker Team. This is Talker Team, the Investors Channel. In the next episode, we'll be talking about much more interesting topics. So stay tuned. Take care. Keep investing. Keep growing. Take care and bye-bye.